Today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the legacies of Rome. So, what are the things that we remember about Rome? Today, in this lesson, you are going to need your headphones, your interactive notebook, and your lesson goals are you want to be able to explain how the most important legacies of Rome impact the world today. This includes things like the modern calendar, religion, Romance languages, literature, government and law, architecture, art, philosophy, and engineering. Okay, so Rome is a very, very important place in our history, and its legacies impact us today. The reason Rome is so important is because it is a site of encounter. Rome is able to get lots of new ideas and build upon them and become super advanced in their time period because they are a site of encounter. And that's places where people from different cultures meet and exchange products, ideas, and technology. And so, because Rome was so big and trade happened at such a large scale, people from all over converged on Rome. It was a very metropolitan city. And the Romans were able to take the ideas of people from different places, like maybe Egypt and Northern Africa and Greece, and build upon those ideas, making them very, very advanced. And so we remember Roman legacies. A legacy is something that stays behind when a person or a place is no longer there. So if you think about it, you might plant a seed to grow a tree. Now, that tree might not become a really, really big tree until after you're gone. And so that's something you leave behind, that tree. It's your legacy. And so the legacies of the Romans are things we remember once that Roman Empire is gone. And we're talking about the Western Roman Empire here because remember, the Eastern Empire continues. So our first really important legacy from the ancient Romans is our modern calendar. Believe it or not, our modern calendar is created by Julius Caesar. Because the calendar before Caesar had 10 months, the months often were very off. Their years were not always the same. And so Caesar came up with a new idea. He wanted a 12-month calendar, which is like what we have today. And while the Romans had 355 days in our year, under Caesar, the calendar has 365 days. And so we call this new calendar a Julian calendar, after Julius Caesar. Now we know that every 4 years we have a leap year. That leap year is actually added later on, and it was not a part of the original Julian calendar. But we can thank Julius Caesar and the Romans for having a 365-day and 12-month year. Our next really important part of legacy is Christianity. Now, Christianity is going to be really the only thing that really survives and thrives when the Western Roman Empire falls. Remember, Christianity at first was not accepted. Christians were treated horribly. However, it later becomes the official religion of Rome. And actually, Christians start to forget that they were persecuted by the Romans and actually become persecutors. We're going to learn that the Christians will persecute people who didn't have the same beliefs as them. However, Christianity, which survives and thrives because it spreads all over the Roman Empire, all over Europe, including far places like Britain. It spreads really, really quickly because of another Roman legacy, and that's Roman roads. The roads that the Romans construct all throughout their empire are a legacy because they still survive today. Those roads might not still be traveled today. However, in Roman times, Early Christians traveled those roads to spread their ideas and spread Christianity far and wide across the empire. And so we see two Roman legacies tied together in one, both Christianity and roads. Our third legacy of Rome are Romance languages. Now in Rome, people spoke Latin. Latin today is what we call a dead language. It no longer is spoken. However, many languages today are based on Latin. Specifically, three really popular, widely spoken languages come directly from Latin, and we call those Romance languages. Do you see the word Roma and Romance languages? So those Romance languages that are legacies of the Romans are French, Spanish, and Italian. We can see how these Romance languages come directly from Latin and that they're very, very similar. They're a little bit different than languages that are based on the Greek that comes out of the Eastern Roman Empire. So let's take a look at the differences in the languages that are based on Latin and the languages based on Greek.
Avion.
Aeroplane.
Aero.
Avion. Flugzeug.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Sorpresa.
Sorpresa.
Überraschung. Papillon.
Butterfly.
Farfalla.
Mariposa.
Schmetterling. Stilo.
Pen.
Penna.
Plume.
Kugelschreiber. Marguerite.
Daisy.
Margarita.
Margarita.
Gänseblümchen. Ambulance.
Ambulance.
Ambulanza.
Ambulancia.
Krankenwagen. Science.
Science.
Scienza.
Ciencia.
Naturwissenschaften.
Okay, so we see examples of how Romance languages are very, very similar. They also come out of Latin. Now, English itself is also based quite heavily on both Greek and Latin. We can put words together in English today based on these Latin and Greek roots. So, for example, we take the word transport. We can figure out its meaning without ever having to look it up in a dictionary. Trans means across, and port means to carry. So transport means to carry across. So we can thank the Romans for their Latin language, which later developed into new languages. Next, we have literature. Now, literature in ancient Rome isn't a brand new idea. In fact, Roman authors drew heavily on Greek culture. Remember, the Romans are kind of the world's best copycats. So we have Roman authors such as Virgil, Horace, and Ovid, who are known as great authors from ancient Rome. However, their works are drawn heavily on this Greek culture. Now, you may grow up and read some works from Virgil, Horace, and Ovid when you are in high school and college, and so we still see those things in our world today. Now, Roman government and law, we already know, is a legacy that impacts us today, because when the United States was founded, our founding fathers looked back on Roman government and they thought that it was a great model for what they wanted. And so Roman government influences the United States government, impacting us today. Specifically, things like the Roman Senate, checks and balances, and the ability to veto are things that are directly in the United States laws, constitution, and government. So when we talk a lot about the way that Roman government impacts us today, we would specifically mention Senate, checks and balances, and veto power. Roman engineering impacts us today. Things like roads, arches, and aqueducts still survive today. So people who built these things 3,000 years ago, their engineering was so advanced that it's something we look back on today. Roman roads still exist. And remember, one important thing about the roads and that engineering of the Romans building these roads throughout their empire helps Christianity to spread. Arches help Romans develop a way to build bigger, larger things. Specifically, these aqueducts. Aqueducts are important because they bring fresh water from the countryside into Roman cities. And so these aqueducts help the Romans to stay healthy by bringing them clean and fresh drinking water. You could see how big the aqueducts are and how amazing that technology was. They also helped Romans build large buildings. So if we look at this example at the bottom of the screen, we see the Roman Colosseum, which might be one of the most famous buildings in all of Rome. So this Colosseum was where Romans went for entertainment during the Roman Empire. They went and they watched sporting events. They watched gladiators fight in the Colosseum. They watched Christians fighting hungry lions in the Colosseum. This leads to architecture that allows us to build bigger and better things. And some of the things that the Romans create, like the arch, but also cement, help the Romans to build these quite large buildings like the Colosseum and this aqueduct. We can see some of these Roman ruins still surviving today. However, right here we have the Roman Pantheon, which was a Roman temple where they went to pray, still surviving and still being able to go and be viewed if you ever go to Rome. Now, another thing that the Romans give us is popular entertainment on a massive scale. Look at the inside of this Colosseum. The inside of the Colosseum shows that many people were able to go and view these events, and that this was a way to boost patriotism. Emperors would often give free admission to plebeians so that they could come and watch these events, like gladiators fighting to the death or Christians fighting hungry lions. This was all entertainment to the Romans. In fact, the Romans even are known to have flooded the Colosseum and shown actual recreations of naval battles. Think back to that Battle of Salamis. That would be something that the Romans would recreate here in the Colosseum for entertainment. They even had something that we might call today a racetrack where cars would go and race. The Romans called this a Circus Maximus, and they had chariot races. And this was a huge structure, and hundreds of thousands of people could fit and watch these chariot races, which were often very brutal and many people died. But this idea of entertainment on a massive scale we see today. Think about Brown Stadium or Indian Stadium, or going down to the Cube. People go and watch these these sporting events as entertainment on a massive scale. Now, art and architecture in ancient Rome, again, like literature, is heavily copied by the Greeks, but we still can see this today. So if we think about what the Romans are known for, mosaics are one thing that they're known for, and this is a definition we want to record. A mosaic is a design formed with small tiles of glass, stone, or pottery. Roman art's a little bit more prominent than Greek art because it survives. So we can go today and see these Roman statues like the one you see at the bottom of the screen. Romans love to make statues of their emperors to remind Romans of how powerful they were. You can see these surviving mosaics at the bottom of the screen as well. Patricians would often have these types of art across their living rooms and dining rooms as a way of decorating and depicting different events, maybe historical or maybe mythological. Now, at the top of the screen, we see really, really famous art, and this is from Hagia Sophia, which is in Constantinople, which, remember, after the fall of Rome, we call that part of the world the Byzantine Empire. This is an example of early Christian art. So Romans, as the empire go on, start to base a lot of their artwork on Christianity. Philosophy in ancient Rome again draws heavily from the ancient Greeks. Now we have a picture of this really famous Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius took the Stoic philosophy, which we learned about in our ancient Greek unit, and he aligned it with the idea of one supreme being who created the world and said that everything had a divine spark or purpose. So, what does that mean to us in middle school? Well, this is kind of advanced thinking, and this is more aligned with the way that people think today. Everything has a purpose or a spark. So, according to Marcus Aurelius, everyone has a reason for being here. Your purpose might not be just to work and try and survive. You might have a purpose for helping advancement or something that you're interested in that you want to pursue, a way that you want to change the world. And so, this is a more modern way of thinking than most people thought in the ancient world. And so all of these legacies are things that we can thank the Romans for. Any of these legacies might be shown on your final exam, and you may have to explain how a specific legacy impacts our world today. And so you now know about the modern calendar, religion, Romance languages, literature, government and law, architecture, art, philosophy, and engineering, and how those things are pertinent in today's world.